Two fun things are happening. First of all, the world premiere of Mad as Hell. That's a documentary about the Young Turks. That's happening in Toronto. It's the Hot Docs Festival. It's the International Film Festival, the largest documentary film festival in North America, actually. There are 3 screenings of the festival, April 29th, April 30th. I will be there, Dave Koller will be there, Ambassador Jenny will be there, Aaron Wysocki, the commanders of the armies of the East will be there. And then May 2nd, there's a 3rd screening as well. If you want to find out more about that, you can go to the Hot Docs website. We'll put a link up to that in the YouTube video about this. And then also, if you want to find out when the movie is coming to your neck of the woods, you can find out all the info about it at facebook.com/madashellfilm. Facebook.com/madashellfilm. Okay, so everybody check out the movie when it comes out, especially in Toronto, where if you're there, I'll see you. So, would love to see you there.
I just started filming every day in the office. I worked for the Young Turks for 3 years while we were filming, and then I left the company after about 3 years, right when Curfew won the Oscar, and I started going more into film, and that's when Eric came on, and we edited the movie over 2 years till now.
For the subjects, some of you I know are used to being on camera, but is it incredibly different being in this documentary? How do you find it for each one of you?
Yeah, it was. It's definitely different. You know, it took so long that in a lot of ways we forgot the cameras were on, as happens all the time. Watching it. So we don't have control over this as we do over our own show, right? And so there are moments that are awkward and uncomfortable. And it appears there was a lot of people who doubted me. I'm not sure I quite knew the extent of it until I watched the movie. So it's a totally different experience, but it was a really interesting one. It's interesting one seeing your story not from your own eyes.
The rest of it?
Sure, well, we had a job to do. Andrew's commitment to this movie underlined all that, but that was not our business. That was his business. So, yeah, you want to interview me? Yeah, you can interview me. Let's get it over with. I got a job to do. I don't believe you're going to do anything with this anyway. But I'm glad that was all wrong.
Dave is my favorite.
Okay, well, I'll open it up to the audience. Does anybody have any questions?
What?
The question was, are there any plans for the Young Turks to cover more Canadian topics?
Yeah, we're thinking of dedicating a whole channel to Rob Ford. No, look, TYT plans to be global. We're, as you might have heard in the movie, the largest online news show in the world. But we'd like to do TYT in different languages in different countries. So we'd like to do it in Spanish, Russian, Chinese, Arabic. And we would definitely do TYT Canada. It's just a matter of time and building up the resources for it. So we'd love to do that, and we are going to do that. Mark,
Young Turk. He's kind of like a Bizarro version.
maybe a Bizarro version. I haven't done crack recently.
Yeah,
Bob called me.
Till later tonight.
The other question was, why was Mark 75%?
Mark registers. Well, first of all, I don't agree that he was 75% of the movie. I think it's really curious that you think that and that he stands out. But Mark, I found fascinating because he was somebody that worked for the Young Turks. That Cenk always talked about how that everyone doubted him. Yet here he had an employee that doubted him. And it was a different perspective, and I thought it was important to show. And ultimately, Mark has an arc. He went from having one viewpoint to ultimately being won over. And I really admire that there are people that work for the Young Turks, that work for Cenk, who don't all agree with everything. I know personally.
Even Tom spoke out in disagreement.
Yeah,
it's not just Mark.
And it's not everyone doesn't have to. I know someone there that's conservative and religious. I know there's all different there's no discrimination in the people that work there, and I really wanted and I interviewed everybody that was there at that time, and I thought Mark provided a very interesting alternative perspective to some of the other people, because some of the other people that were critical of Cenk were his very, very good long-term friends. Mark was not a long-term friend. He didn't even know Cenk, and so that made him unique from some of the other criticisms, like from Steve.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. Apparently everyone at the company doubts it. It's the sense I got from the movie. No, that's totally fine. And besides which, Mark's already been fired. So it's Mark?
Hey, Mark. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, hate to break it to you.
Mark was a little scared. I was proud of him for doing the interview and saying what he felt, but he was a little nervous. I think he got a little he got a little shit after the two-way screening we got. There's a few.
No, you know what Andrew says about arcs are interesting, and I hadn't quite noticed them as much as until I saw the movie. You know, whether it was my friends Kenan, Greg, Dave, etc., the people who wound up working at the company, even Norma from the public access, if you remember, right? And so it's interesting to see how over time some of them were won over, and that was actually really great and encouraging to see. So now apparently we haven't won Mark over on Wolfpack yet, but we'll get him.
It's because people.
That's the sequel.
It's part of a trilogy, but that's people still doubt him today, and people will probably always doubt you for the rest of your life. And that was the point of having Mark in there at the end, is that there's a great majority of people that don't believe in what he's trying to do, and that's how it'll always be. And it's just how it is. And we're trying to be a filmmaker. It's not, we're trying to be a professional basketball player. The odds are against you, and there's always going to be doubters. And that's the point that I was trying to make with that.
And Cenk, so much of you and what you are in this movie is a guy with a very strong opinions. First thing Dave says about you. So it was important for us to be able to show that everyone else around you has an opinion, and not everyone gets along. It's like everyone has an opinion, and everyone's gone through experiences in their life to build that opinion. This is a movie about how you have your opinions and your viewpoints and stances.
It's not blindly following the leader.
Right. Well, next time around, if we do another one, let's cut that out.
Next time you hire a different director, or you actually hire the director. I wasn't hired. I like it. What's that? Disclaimer. Yeah.
Let's take another question.
I think that we're appealing to something that's inside everybody. That everybody feels to some degree that they are a rebel, and that the government or whichever established system is in charge in their country or their neck of the woods isn't always being honest with them, and that's even more true in other places. So that's why I'm dying to do TYT, Egypt and Russia and China, etc. And if you think we like TYT, that idea, which is more important than any person or any company or any show, I think will resonate all throughout the world, and it is already. In fact, Saudi Arabia is in our top 10 nations that watch the show, and part of the reason for that is because they don't get any other kind of news, and when they see us and they see us talking against their government, they go, yeah, that's it. I knew it. And the email that I get probably most often throughout the 12 years of doing the show is, before you, we thought that we were alone. And then we found out through the show that we're not alone. And so that's powerful. And it feels, I don't want to get too corny, but it feels an honor that I get to be the person that helps that process along for everybody. And so I'm incredibly thankful to all of you guys for watching it, caring about it, and participating in it.
And I actually wanted to add something to that, because I just realized something. Hot Docs chooses 10 movies out of the 200-something films for this Doc for Schools program, where they bring in a whole bunch of students and teachers to watch the movie. And they chose this movie and tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., 500 students and teachers are coming to watch this film, and I was really honored and very thankful, and I am. But then just watching the movie right now, I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of profanity in this movie. They're letting little kids, like students, come here and watch this.
The curriculum is 7 through 12.
Yeah.
Grade 7 through 12.
Whoosh.
Oh, really?
But a lot of bleeps. the interesting thing is the audience ranges from very old to very, very young. And so it makes sense.
And a lot of you here, I'm guessing, are strong fans of the Young Turks. We just saw you all at the meetup we just had prior to this, a lot of you. And something I think that I've experienced with people I've shown the movie to who don't know anything about the Young Turks is they're now supporters. And they're like, yeah, this guy knows. That's exactly how I feel. And I almost like, I would really love for everyone to actively push this movie into the world to help all parties on stage.
Help to people that don't know what the Young Turks are. But
Yeah.
Dave, you were going to say something.
Well, to that question, the part of the movie I like more, I would say, was the first half where it tied in some international events, the Clinton impeachment, the Iraq War, and the movie and the history of the Young Turks coincides with a period where American foreign policy really impacted the world in a very significant and negative way. So it forced the whole world to be interested in understanding what this formerly great country is doing to screw everything up. It's depicted in the movie, and it's what the Young Turks did in those years, the Bush administration years. That's part of the big appeal.
Yeah. One quick thing about that. You know, one of the questions as you watch the movie is, why was I a Republican? Why did I become something else, an independent? And it's because when we came to this country, we're huge, or to America, huge fans of the idea. We love the idea of America. You know, we wanted to wave the flag. We chose to be citizens. And then you get sold, you know, I was a kid when I came, and you get the marketing of the Republican brand, freedom, people on horses, cowboys, right, and strength and all that stuff. And then even if you believe that at the time, as I partly did, of course, going through it, and then all the way to March 19th of 2003, Dave's right. I mean, they destroy that in front of our own eyes. And I don't want people to lose the American dream. I want them to believe in the American dream. I still believe in it, right? And so I wanted to reclaim that and then tell the world, too, that there are other people inside America, inside the bastion, that disagree with the government, and we don't think that's America. We think there's a real America, the one that a lot of people across the world believed in and wanted to come to, that it still exists. So that's part and parcel of what we're doing at the Young Turks.
The question is, in regards to TYT Global, how do you think we should fix the governing structures on an international scale?
Have fun with that.
Never stop believing in what you
World government.
one step at a time. No, but honestly, like I said in the movie, there's no way I would have thought that we would have hit 1 billion views. Now as a network, we're at 1.8 billion views.
Wow.
And how did we get there? I mean, you saw it. We did one step at a time. You know, Dave and Jesus in the studio and putting that together. And what you didn't see is the people who actually believed in us. You know, so it was an interesting perspective. But one of the guys who made it all happen is actually on the stage, is Kenan. He gave us the initial amount of money that we needed to actually literally buy microphones and the ISDN equipment, etc., when no one else believed. He did, and another great friend, Boris Shaman, and my parents, and they put together enough money to be able to for us to do that show. If they didn't have that belief, we wouldn't be here. And so if we all believe, yes, definitely. And if we all believe that we can have better governments throughout the world, it seems daunting, and we all laugh when you ask the question, like, Jesus, how are we going to fix all the governments in the world, right? But it takes one person to believe in the beginning, and then 2 and 3 and 4, and then a room full of people, and then a world full of people. And there's one lesson I've learned in my own life, which is that if someone tells you it's not possible, don't believe them.
Okay, we have time for a couple more.
Corporations that are
Right.
advertising, is it access to the politicians?
Right. Before I answer that question, let me just quickly say that if at the end, if you guys don't mind, Eric and Andrew are right. In order for more people to see this movie and this idea behind it, if you guys would vote, it would help tremendously. If we got the audience award that would help tremendously in getting the word out. So
5 is the highest.
5 is the highest. I'm not saying you should vote 5. I'm just saying that that's a possibility. Okay. Right, exactly. All right, to that question, it's interesting, right? So the critical conversation I had with Phil Griffin, who runs MSNBC, came after he came back from Washington. That's why he said to me, Washington's not happy with your tone. Now, to this day, I don't know what he means by Washington. I don't know that he talked to anyone in the Obama administration or Democratic Party, or I don't know who he talked to. Maybe it was like people that are, in this what they call the group of 500, right, that are really influential in Washington. But that trickles down to everybody. And what happens inside a building like MSNBC, and it happens everywhere, it's not to just pick on them, is that when management thinks something, they let that be known, and it just rains down throughout the building. And everybody knows, hey, don't do that and do this, because if you do that, you will be disfavored, okay? And if you do this, then people will look favorably upon you. And by the way, they also call the producers all the time, in the middle of the show. So the Egyptian Revolution was happening while I was on the air on MSNBC, and President Obama came to speak while I was on the air about it for the first time, and he did a press conference, and he said, Mubarak's great, he's our ally, and the protesters are great, and they're our allies. Okay, classic Obama, right? So I said, all right, I'm going to go to the generals here and the experts that we have, and then once we're done with them, I'm going to tell you guys, I looked in the camera, I said, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to keep it real and tell you what President Obama actually said. Okay, as I went to the guests, my producer called in my ear and said, don't keep it real.
Where was that in the interview in the movie?
Yeah,
Jeez, come on,
that
dude.
would have been awesome.
So that's how it works. And he had gotten a call from management saying, don't criticize the president, especially after a major press conference like that.
All right, we have time for one more. I'm going to take this one right here. The question is, Cenk, any further ambitions for TV?
Wasn't that answered in the movie?
One more.
So yes and no. So a lot of people in the movie, Mark and Dave and different people at different times thought that, I thought TV's the end-all be-all. No, I thought a couple of different things. One is that, like I said in the movie, there's 3 cable news stations, and they're in every political office, they're in every news station. That's why it's so important. And then I thought we could be more influential that way. But it turns out they don't really give a damn about that anyway. They just do whatever the donors tell them to do. So if Bill O'Reilly happens to make a point that is helpful to their cause, they will use it as an excuse. But that's not the reason they're doing it. It's not like Bill O'Reilly beat Rachel Maddow in a debate, right? That didn't happen, never gonna happen. And so I realized that it wasn't nearly as influential as I thought. And trying to reach the decision makers and the establishment in Washington is a fool's errand, okay? That's the conclusion that I came to. So the real people you gotta reach is you guys. If you reach enough of the audience, then we can move them. We can move mountains, we can move anything. Okay, now that's a much harder thing to do. It's easier to suck up to the establishment and convince those 500 people in Washington the direction to go. So to get to your question about TV, so I realize it's a lot less influential than I thought. It's not as big a deal. Right now, the network gets about 2.1 million views a day. The Young Turks show, the flagship show that I host, gets about 1.4 million views a day. When I was on MSNBC, I got 700,000 views a day. So we're doubling them in terms of audience. And so we don't need TV. It doesn't mean that you can't do a TV show, you can't do a production. We hope to do many TV productions especially, right? And that's lovely, but we don't think that's how we're going to change the world. We think that's good revenue, it's a good platform. It's like another app. Like we're on Hulu, we're on Roku. Yeah, we could be on that app called TV. God bless.
On that note, I want to thank these guys for coming so much.
Yeah!